All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Sunday's Futures Show. We have a lot to talk about in regards to what the heck is going on in China. We talked a little bit about it on the market close on Friday, but over the weekend, we've had some pretty substantial developments in terms of the now pretty obvious competitive landscape between China and the United States when it comes to AI. And a lot of the leaders of US tech companies have been talking about not taking China for granted. And it looks like this weekend, the entire world woke up and realized we can't take China for granted. So we'll be talking about that. We got some new tariff issues with Trump and Colombia. We're going to cover that because that's a whole nother thing that's going on right now. And then we got to talk about Bitcoin, which is kind of tanking because futures are tanking. We'll look at futures in just a second. In about 13 minutes, we will have the overnight markets open. There's going to be some interesting stocks I want to watch out on. One is Nvidia, which we'll talk about why in a second, but a lot of this China stuff potentially from a perception perspective, even if not from a practicality perspective, is going to affect them. And then the other one is Oracle. Apparently, some rumors broke out yesterday that the Trump administration is in pretty serious conversations with Oracle for them to own 50% of TikTok, which would be pretty massive because TikTok has 170 million users, brings in tens of billions of dollars of revenue per year just in the United States. So obviously that would be important for Oracle. We could see a gap up on Oracle as we get into the overnight markets. There we go. We got a lot to talk about. And then the Chiefs and the Bills are playing. I don't care about football that much, but I do kind of keep up with the Chiefs just because I want to see if they can be, that football team for the next 100 years that we talk about. So I am curious to see if they can win today. But let me know in the chat who you guys have winning today, either the Chiefs or the Bills. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Michelle, Philip, Ken, Bay Ray, Gary, Spencer, Zocold, what's up? What's up? Jersey Guido, thank you for being here today. Crowd Control, what's up? Randy Singh, what's up? Drew, Adam, thank you, everybody, for being here today. We are not going to start talking about Deepseek until 8 p.m. or 8:05 because I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot of stuff to run through. I want to hopefully make this educational because I've been consuming content around what the heck Deepseek is all day. So I don't want to start it right now because then we're going to have to stop at 8 p.m. to check the futures or to check the overnight markets. But basically in 15 minutes, we're going to dive deep into Deepseek. I did not plan that. I promise I did not plan that. But we got a lot to look at when it comes to Deepseek. In terms of futures, this is what we got going on right now. They're red, and they're not easing up. They are still red. They were red at 6 p.m. They are red at 7:50. And yeah, as On Beneficial says right here, deep dive. See, I should have used that one. That would have been better. That would have been better if I did that. But the reason we're having a bit of a deep dive is because the market is afraid of Deepseek, and there's some tariff issues going on, which is why the market is also a little upset. But Deepseek, I think, is the actual reason we are seeing a bit of discrepancies in terms of these futures, and Nvidia and how it opens up along with some of the other Mag 7 as soon as we get the overnight markets is going to be very interesting for me to see what ends up happening. My overall take, and again, I'm going to spend a lot more time on this on the future show today, but I think this is a nothing burger. I think this is not a black swan. I think this is honestly creating a healthy wall of worry in a bull market that's been raging. I mean, we've been talking about January being incredible ever since the week before the inauguration when we got CPI. So for the past 2 weeks, I mean, it's been absolutely amazing. Rocket Lab, Robinhood, Palantir, all these companies, Meta, all-time highs, Nvidia getting back almost into the 150s. I mean, it's been a pretty good 2 weeks. Sometimes you need a little bit of a wall of worry. You need something where the optimism around earnings growth and the broader stock market, equities, et cetera, can outweigh the fears that the market has. That's sort of the concept of the wall of worry. And we haven't had any wall of worry since CPI. It looks like Deepseek might end up being that wall of worry. So we're going to see what that looks like later as we dive into all that stuff. Yeah, the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. Looks like the Eagles won pretty nicely. Bitcoin just dropped below 102,000. So we're going to see who faces the Eagles in the Super Bowl. Shout out to everyone who came to the options 101 class on Saturday. Got a lot of good feedback. It was a 3-hour class. We went through the basics of puts, calls, and then buying a put, buying a call versus selling a put, selling a call. Got a lot of feedback, a lot of messages, a lot of comments saying that it was helpful. So we will definitely do options 201 And that will probably happen in about 2 weeks. And we'll go a little bit more deeper on all the stuff we talked about. I'll have some guests to help me break this stuff down even better than I could. But yeah, happy people joined. Hopefully, at least on the 101, I think I'm confident enough to explain the sort of very, very basics of options. And as we go to 201, 301, 401, I'll have more people to help me out to explain this. But I think a lot of people got value of it, which was good. And hopefully no one ever has to pay for an options course ever again, because forget my video I did on Sunday. Like the information's out there on the internet. And I've been saying this for the past couple of months, like ChatGPT, you can just talk to it. Now you can talk to Deepseek if you want. I don't get why Deepseek is #1 on the App Store, bro. Everyone's like afraid of China, but then they just download the latest Chinese model. But the point is AI, YouTube, anything can give you the information. You do not have to pay for this stuff. It's like, it's all there. Unless you're paying for mentorship. If you're just paying for the content, like the actual like words and videos, that you should not have to pay for that anymore. So all of that's out there in the world. Yeah, Deepseek, look at that. #1. I downloaded it and then I deleted it. I downloaded it just to see what it was like. But quite frankly, I'm just gonna be honest, I don't want a Chinese large language model on my phone. And I've seen some pictures of people asking it what happened in Tiananmen Square, or to critique China, and it's not really been as accurate as a traditional model would be, because it was developed in China. So, I mean, I don't know. This thing is very weird, but it's not just #1 in productivity. It's #1 in the entire, dude, it's beating ChatGPT in threads. Like, that's wild, bro. You already gave it your data? Yeah, I guess so, for the 10 minutes I had it on my phone, but it's already there. It's already there. Again, at 8:05, so in about 10 minutes, we will go deep into Deepseek. I don't want to get into everything right now because we got the overnight markets opening, but we're going to spend a lot of time talking about all this stuff and what we have to figure out in terms of if it affects the actual market. Irish Miss, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thanks for the options class. It was great. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for being here. Appreciate everyone who showed up. I think we had about 800 to 900 people for the full 3 hours. So I didn't know that many people cared. I know people have been asking, but I didn't know that many people legit for 3 hours on a Saturday actually wanted to learn about options. But it seems like people do. And so we'll definitely continue that series in the future. And, I think another thing we'll do is we'll do a refresher on Options 101, because it's one thing to hear it for the first time. It's another thing to have a refresher and to use different examples in the same line. So we're not going more advanced, but we're using the same stuff we talked about with different examples to kind of double down on what does it mean to buy a call, sell a call, buy a put, sell a put. So we'll do that, and then Options 201, 301, and we'll keep it going for like the next year. And we'll do it until we get through all the juicy details we have to get to when it comes to options. But I do think if anyone watches that for 3 hours, you get a really good sense of just the basics of options, and hopefully it's not as confusing or scary for people into the future. And honestly, dude, it is really simple. Like, once you get a hang of it, people say it's so taboo, it's complicated. Like, once you put your mind to it, it's not complicated. It's very basic arithmetics. It's not like linear algebra. It's simple stuff. And then it comes down to what stocks do you buy options or sell options on? And that comes down to how good is your research. But outside of that, just understanding the conceptual framework of what does it mean to engage in derivatives, it's definitely not the hardest thing in the world. And so hopefully everyone can get some more benefit from it. Kirby, thank you for the $10 super chat. Deepseek was made on top of Llama, which was made by Meta. Without Meta's high spending, Deepseek would not exist. So I'm not worried at all. That is a very good point. And then in the next 10 minutes, we are going to talk about that point, because I agree with you as well. I think that Meta is not spending $65 billion in 2025 because someone in China spent $6 million, which, by the way, again, we'll get into it, but they have GPUs. They have more than 100,000 H100s. So it's not like Deepseek, and we're going to go through a history of Deepseek and how it started. It's not like Deepseek doesn't have the GPUs. Now, they had less access to the GPUs when the restriction controls went into place by Biden, I think in late 2023, for Nvidia to sell, or any chip maker to sell into China. But they had a ton of GPUs before that, and they just had to get really creative on how they train on those GPUs. That's where the real innovation is. The innovation is not that they are not using GPUs. Anyone who says that has no idea what the hell's going on. They are absolutely using GPUs. It's just the way they're training the inference on those GPUs is a little different than what OpenAI is doing, and that's what's creating a bit of a wall of worry here about, do we need to spend these many billions of dollars? But we're going to talk about it and go deeper into this after the overnight markets open. Wow, NASDAQ futures down 1.5 now. Oh boy, let me refresh this right here. It was down 0.5. Yeah, now it's down 1.5. The VIX is the only thing that's up. The VIX is the only thing that's green. Okay, so we have about 4 minutes until the overnight markets open. Let me get everyone's raw thoughts. What are they thinking about Deepseek? Even if you know a lot about it, know nothing about it, what is your raw take on this idea that the market is scared of a Chinese model? Are you scared? Are you selling? Are you buying? I mean, we're going to see how Nvidia opens up. Quite frankly, also, I mean, this is not bearish for any of the hyperscalers except Nvidia. I mean, let's just take it to its logical extreme. Let's just say Meta does not have to spend $65 billion to produce all this AI, CapEx, data center, GPU, open source models, etc. Why is that bad? Meta just saved $65 billion. Someone tell me why that's bad. Now, that's bad for the company that was getting a majority of that $65 billion, which is Nvidia. But it's not bad for Meta. I mean, Meta can be creative and spend 1/10 of that or 1/100th of that to be able to train their advertising models to get better results. I mean, okay, it sucks to be Nvidia, but doesn't suck to be Meta. So I don't know why it's necessarily bearish for the other Mag 7s outside of Nvidia. But again, I don't think Meta can pull off what they're trying to pull off with $6 million versus $60 billion. I think there's a reason they're spending that much money. Bitcoin right here, 101.8. Bitcoin falls with the NASDAQ. Don't let anyone tell you differently. All the Bitcoin maxis that think Bitcoin goes opposite to the NASDAQ, they've been wrong forever. Bitcoin trades with the NASDAQ. And if it stops trading with the NASDAQ, I'll be very surprised and I'll actually be kind of happy because that means Bitcoin is actually acting as an asset class that is not contingent on liquidity from growth stocks. But that's not the case. The NASDAQ's down 1.5%, Bitcoin's down 3.2%. That actually makes a lot of sense. And that's why we're seeing Bitcoin kind of take a little bit of a hit right now. Sam Altman, OpenAI is the AI bubble. He started this AI momentum and he will pop it. Dude, OpenAI is the one company outside of Nvidia, that I am a little bit more worried about. Because again, we've been talking about this for a long time. What does OpenAI produce? A model. That's it. And if you're a Palantir investor, you know, if you've heard Karp speak at all about the AI war, it's that he believes the models are a commodity and the implementation and the execution of the model is what actually matters. I mean, I talked to Chad over the weekend and I was like, yo, what is your take on this Deepseek stuff? And he was like, dude, it's kind of the same thing we've been saying. It's like, yeah, Deepseek is proving that the models are commoditized. Then the value comes down to implementing the models, aka Palantir, not just building the models. And so, you know, OpenAI has 300 million active users. That's amazing. But if there's other companies that can get those users, and a lot of people are downloading Deepseek today, then it doesn't mean they have to be stuck on GPT simply because they were first to market. Wow, the 10-year's down as well. I didn't even look at the 10-year. I think the dollar's up a little bit. We got a minute until overnight markets open. Dollar's up 0.14%, 107.5. 10-year is down. Nice. Okay, so at least the 10-year is coming down a little bit. That is weird because the tariffs with Colombia that we'll talk about, you would think would spike up the dollar, or spike up the 10-year, but that's not happening. Palantir investors sleeping like babies. Yeah, dude. This is, again, I really think the only people that should be super scared is Nvidia investors. But then again, if Nvidia tanks, you could definitely see the whole market tank. I don't think Nvidia's tanking. Let me make that very clear. I do not think this is sell Nvidia or anything. In fact, if we get Nvidia to 120, 125, that'd be a really juicy dip. But in general, the models are not where the value is. And I think more and more of the world is waking up to that. Come on, admit you couldn't wait until the game is over before going live. We have to go live. We got open overnight markets opening at 8 o'clock, which is right now. So we had to go live. Here we go. Tesla is down 1.35% overnight. Nvidia, oh my goodness. Wow. 3% down. Holy guacamole. 3.5. The market really thinks this Deepseek shit is real. Meta down 0.7%, not that crazy. Meta was at all-time highs on Friday. SMCI is down 4% with Nvidia. Walmart's down 0.5%. Sofi, we got to talk about Sofi earnings as well. That's up 0.22%. Oh my goodness, Nvidia's down 4.4%. Wow. Holy crap. Holy crap. Market really, wow. Now I'm bag holding Nvidia. My average is 139. Now I am officially a bag holder of Nvidia. Rocket Lab doesn't trade overnight. Nubank's up 0.5%. Google's down 0.5%. S&P's down 1%. Carnival Cruise down a little bit. Where's Hoodie? Is Hoodie getting hit? Hoodie is down 1.2%, still above $50, 50-50 on Hoodie. Where's Palantir on this news? Palantir down 1%. Okay, that's not too crazy. IBM flat. Meta now down 2%. Meta is getting hit. Where's Amazon on this? Amazon down 1%. Tesla is below 400. They couldn't just let January end out nicely, could they? They couldn't let January end out nicely. They couldn't do it. Brett said maybe Nvidia cash card puts tomorrow. Great options video. First of all, Brett, thank you for checking out the video. I know you are getting new to options, and hopefully that video was helpful. And yeah, the put premiums on Nvidia, if this continues, probably will be decent tomorrow. So we'll talk about that on the market open. Robin now down about 2.1%. Nvidia, oh my God, dude, it's down 5.5%. What, like, holy crap. Is the market really that scared about Deepseek? Like, holy, this is, dude, 5% down on Nvidia is not a joke. That's like legit. That's like that's the market's thinking something's wrong. This is crazy, bro, because if this Deepseek shit is nothing, and again, we're going to talk about it for the next hour, so we got a lot to talk about, but if it's nothing, this has got to be a great buy the dip. If it's something, then I'll tell you what, every big tech CEO that has earnings this week, Meta, Tesla, Microsoft, and Apple, they're going to get asked about it. They are going to get asked about it. Wow, Nvidia's not stopping. Nvidia is not stopping. 5.4%. Hood's now down 3%. Hood's going down because the market's going down. That makes sense. Palantir down 2.5. I guess it's getting bucketed in the AI trade. Amazon down 1.2. Tesla 2.5%. Meta 2.24%. Meta back to where it was on like Wednesday. SMCI getting hammered, down 6%. Oh my God, all the semis should be getting hit. Hold on, where are the rest of the semis? ARM's down 4%. Lam Research is down 2%. Dell's down 1%. Micron down 3%. Broadcom down 3.5%. ASML down 1.2%. Intel down 2%. SMCI down 6%. AMD down 2%. Nvidia down 5.4%. Oh my gosh. Of course. Where's MicroStrategy? MSTR is down 4%, and then Coinbase is down 3.7%. All of them are down because Bitcoin's down from 105, but the AI names are kind of the main ones that we're seeing right here. Wow, dude. Market really... Oh, Oracle. Yeah, Oracle. Market's really upset about this. Oracle is up. TikTok's saving Oracle right now. Again, the rumor, if you're just joining, is that Oracle is going to buy half of TikTok. The Trump administration's trying to work with them to get it, which is obviously bullish Oracle, but that's the only thing that's keeping it green right now. Because if Nvidia tanks, Oracle's going down with it. I mean, all the big spenders, or not the spenders, but the people that are beneficiaries of all the CapEx spend, which Oracle is definitely one of them, their AI revenues are up 52% year over year. If that CapEx spend goes away, or at least the perception of it going away, that would be an issue. Nvidia right here down 4.6%. A little recovery. It was down almost 6%. Now back to 4.5%. Tesla's down 3% as well. Amit, can you do a SparkNotes version of what Deepseek is? Yeah, let's get into it. Let's get into Deepseek. That was going to be the majority of what we talk about today. Sofi as well getting hit. I was going to do a little bit of Sofi earnings preview, but I mean, we'll do it late. We'll do it at the end for like 5 minutes. There's not that much to talk about. I expect them to have a triple beat. I don't know how the stock's going to react. What sucks is they're reporting into this market now, dude. That sucks for Sofi, bro. Having to report the day after the world figured out that China is not messing around with these models. So that could be just a macro thing that hurts Sofi, even if they have amazing numbers. But we'll talk more about them at the very end of the show. Okay, cool. Let's talk about Deepseek. Here we go. Let's get into Deepseek. All right, so let me pull this up here. I have a lot of things to get to, and then we'll get a little bit deeper into the nuances of this. Okay, so here we go. First of all, what is Deepseek? Deepseek is a company in China that is also the name of a model. In particular, R1 is the name of the model that became open sourced really over the past 2 weeks. And the market has started to take a look at it. At Davos, a lot of people were talking about it. CNBC really did a big piece on it on Friday. We watched a little bit about that. And that piece made a lot of headlines as more people started realizing, wait a second, how exactly did this company become almost as good as OpenAI. Now, what is the proof for as good as OpenAI? Well, here's a chart right here to get started. This is the results that we've seen over the past week on OpenAI versus Deepseek. So OpenAI was founded 10 years ago, has 4,500 employees, and has raised $6.6 billion in capital. Deepseek was founded less than 2 years ago, has 200 employees, headquartered in China, and was developed for less than 10 million. Now, the 10 million number is a bit deceiving. It's not that they only spent 10 million because they had to buy GPUs, right? But the training on the GPUs was only 10 million. And that's where everyone's like, holy crap. We know they have to spend on the GPUs, but if the inference training was so cheap, which is where the world is going to as these models get, so anti-competitive with each other because there's not any real differentiation between Llama, GPT, Gemini, etc. The inference training is everything. And if that can be done for much cheaper on DeepSeek version 3 versus on something like a O1 from OpenAI, that's where things become very interesting in terms of how much CapEx spend do we really need to be able to spend long term. Has any of that been verified? So no, these are the numbers that are publicly available, but those numbers are not officially verified. We have the 10 million number. I imagine that DeepSeek spent a lot of money on getting the thousands or the hundreds of thousands of GPUs, the H100s. We'll talk more about their history with H100s and getting those GPUs, but the actual 10 million inference training number, that's the number that's going out there. That's definitely the number that the market is taking a lot more seriously. Okay, so DeepSeek founder, he studied machine vision at a university in China. At 30 years old in 2015, he launched a high flyer quant hedge fund. And then he made a fortune. He had $8 billion under management. He wanted to build human level AI as a side hustle, and he pitched partners, but they were initially skeptical. So again, the dude is a hedge fund guy. He's a quant. He made a ton of money, and then he realized he wanted to get into AI. He bought 10,000 H800 chips in 2021 after he got some juicy profits from the hedge fund and brought over his top hedge fund employees. All of them have tons of experience squeezing juice out of Nvidia GPUs for the fund because the fund was using them. They launched Deepseek in 2023, and they hired dozens of PhD from the top Chinese universities. He paid them the top salary for tech talent, only matched by ByteDance in China, and he wanted Deepseek to be the leading local AI company. Then U.S. export restrictions forced Deepseek team to get very creative. This was because of the Biden administration in late 2023, finding new training methods to make LLM models, V3, R1, competitive. R1 is the name of their model, with OpenAI, Anthropic, Gemini, Grok, Llama, etc. at 1/20th of the cost. This is the paragraph, or this is the sentence that is getting the market scared. That after U.S. export restrictions, the innovation inside of Deepseek was so phenomenal that they were able to be competitive based on the chart we just looked at with the leading models for 1/20th of the cost. Not 1/20th of the cost of the GPUs, but 1/20th of the cost of the inference training, which is really all that matters when it comes to making a model successful. Training costs are not exactly apples to apples, but novel methods and clear improvements in efficiency. Also questions around copying other models, larger H100 clusters they maybe can't talk about, and or CCP support. We don't know how much the Chinese government was supporting them. They open sourced and published their methods. The R1 reasoning paper has 200 authors. And then Deepseek just hit the top of the App Store. So they went from getting the top talent in 2023 to then getting an export control in late of 2023. Then they trained their models to be as strong as they could. And again, the costs are not exactly apples to apples, but nonetheless, the results are pretty exceptional. And Deepseek over the weekend just hit top on the App Store after they published their methods. DeepSeek is an open source model. It is not a closed source model. It is an open source model. So that's another thing where the market's like, Nvidia, by the way, down 4.78%. The market's like, wait a second. We already knew Llama was cooking up some amazing open source stuff. Now you got China cooking up amazing open source stuff. Why should we care about Gemini or Anthropic or GPT if these models are not open source? And that's another part of the reason why the market's a little upset. Or at least we're seeing them a little upset in the pre-markets because now they're wondering how much money really has to be spent on all this inference training. Now, is DeepSeek actually that good? Well, let's take some examples. You can build a browser agent without code. OpenAI launched this thing where you have to pay $200 to use Operator, which is their agentic workflow to then build websites. DeepSeek allows you to do this without having to pay $200, which is obviously very useful. DeepSeek R1 distilled to Qwen 1.5 billion easily runs on your iPhone 16 with MLX Swift. Here is the 4-bit model reasoning entirely on a device. in almost 60 seconds. As you can see it right here, this is running locally on a phone. This is the beauty of open source models, because when you can locally do this, and as you can see, you're getting a result right there, why would you pay $20 to ChatGPT, right? Like there's just no reason to do that if you can get it locally. And then we have other models, right? Or other examples. You can build a RAG app, which is retrieval augmented generation, to interact with PDFs locally on your computer. Again, this is stuff you pay apps $10 a month for. They're basically GPT wrappers. A lot of these startups that, you know, people are saying are kind of ghost startups, that they're just using API calls to GPT with some fancy SaaS landing page. A lot of those could be dead if this thing takes off. You can reason through complex medical questions. You have this guy who said, I was watching Deepseek R1 model reason through and basically one-shot complex medical scenarios. It's humbling. I've been plugging in some more of my complex recent cases and it slices through them like a pro. How long until people would trust the AI over human doctors? Again, you don't need GPT to be able to answer complex medical questions when you have something like a Deepseek. You can learn math concepts like the Pythagorean theorem visually with AI. You can have 96.4% cheaper than OpenAI O1 while delivering similar performance when it comes to actually implementing it on your locally available desktop via output and input tokens in terms of the costs that are there. And then it goes through more and more examples of all these different things you can do. You can build Perplexity, but with Deepseek Reasoner model in about an hour without code, which begs the question, is Perplexity worth the $9 billion that they just raised, that doing $50 million in revenue? Perplexity is built on top of GPT. Perplexity is built as a GPT wrapper. It's just one of the best GPT wrappers. And so you got a lot of people questioning a lot of things that are happening right now when it comes to Deepseek. And this last example, you have AGI at home running. You can run Deepseek R1 on home setups like your Mac Mini, because all of it is open source. So that does a little bit of the proving that Deepseek is real. It's not a joke. It is very real. It is something that cannot be ignored. And that's why the market, as we're seeing, is a bit down right now. Because if the market's not going to ignore it, then they're definitely going to take it a bit more seriously. So the TLDR Deepseek model created in China a couple years ago had to get creative after they couldn't get access to more GPUs, even though the Chinese government probably indirectly got them access to some more GPUs. But what is undebatable is the inference training cost is significantly lower, even if it's not literally $10 million. That's irrelevant. The point is it's lower than what a lot of these other companies in the United States are allocating spend to in regards to just inference training. So here's my take on this. Competition just got real, correct? So why would the market freak out with Nvidia? Well, so it's a good question. Why would the market freak out with Nvidia? A lot of the future models are not just going to be based on compute. A lot of the future models are going to be based on inference training, and that's not only tied to just having more GPUs. That's about how do you train on top of the GPUs, which means the real reason I think the market's freaking out is because if they actually weren't able to get Blackwell, for example, or the H200, and they only had HB800s or H100s, that means this model was able to get as good as the Blackwell chips that are training OpenAI's O1 model without needing Blackwell. Which begs the question then, why do we need to keep upgrading if we can be more creative on the abstraction layer of the previous GPUs in just more improvements in general with AI getting better when it comes to inference? It doesn't mean NVIDIA's demand goes away, but it does mean, is NVIDIA's demand as solid as it was before? Exactly. Unnecessary CapEx spend from big tech. Again, Nadella said we're spending $80 billion to increase not only the cloud infrastructure to handle all these AI workloads, but to increase our own proprietary models that make the AI infrastructure meaningful. If you don't need to do that, and again, it's not like it's gonna go to zero overnight. It's just everyone's stoked up on Nvidia because Microsoft said they're spending $80 billion. Well, what if they don't have to? Right? And that's at least the perception of the fear that the market's having right now. If there is some innovation on the abstraction level when it comes to training the models from an inference perspective versus the raw GPUs you need, Hopper, Blackwell, whatever the model is after Hopper that NVIDIA comes up with in 2027, if you don't need those advanced models because it's not a question of having more compute, then maybe NVIDIA's demand could fall off a cliff. That is the perception. That is not my belief. Now, here's my belief. Here's my take on this, and I'm curious to see what other people have to say. If this event is going to give some juicy dips on the Mag 7, I'll be waiting with open arms. I would be very happy to get some dips on the Mag 7. I think all of us since end of December, early January, were waiting on a real dip in the Mag 7s. We really didn't get it. Even Christmas Eve, I mean, you could kind of classify that as a dip, but that 3 to 4% down was not a big dip. I'm talking about August 5th types of dips. I don't know if we're going to get that. But if we did get that, I wouldn't be the most upset in the world. I imagine all of the big tech companies, Meta, Apple, Tesla, Microsoft, and then Google and Amazon report next week. Nvidia is going to be at the end of February. They're going to be asked to this about an extent, to an extent, right? And analysts are going to say, hey, what is going on here? Why do you guys have to spend this much money if we're seeing this progress out of China? And I think they're all going to have pretty strong answers. Now, the question is, what is going to be the perception of their answers? So, for example, if Elon Musk tweeted right now, Deepseek is real, OpenAI is in trouble, which, by the way, he probably has some incentive to do that, but I don't know if he's going to do that. If he did that, I think Nvidia falls like 2% again. Like if Elon comes out and says Deepseek is real, like this is a big thing, I think a lot of people would start saying, okay, so if Elon, who's bought a lot of GPUs from Nvidia, is saying that Deepseek is real, it begs the question, why do we need OpenAI? But it also begs the question is if Grok is valuable or as valuable as something like a Deepseek, given that Grok is not open sourced. But we'll talk a little bit more about why I think Grok does drive some of its value as well. What is OpenAI's moat then? Gene asks. I don't know. And I think a lot of people are questioning that as well. However, I think people, or at least bears that are out there that are saying the entire AI revolution is postponed because China used an open source model and the 50 to 100,000 H100s they had to build something really good is going to postpone the AI revolution. I think is silly. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think actually this should create more demand for CapEx. Now, why should this create more demand for CapEx if we need to continue to be competitive? Well, here's someone who worked at Robinhood's AI department. They actually responded to one of my tweets, and they've been working in AI for the past 10 years. And this is something really interesting that they said. They said the R1 launch by Deepseek signaled the start of the AI war between US and China, and spending on infrastructure will only go up even faster. And he said, you just need three things to hold true to see people will spend more on compute. Number one, more intelligence is better, and demand for intelligence doesn't saturate, which until we reach AGI, I don't think that's going to be the case. Number two, more compute leads to more intelligence, which that is the debate. That is the debate. Does more compute lead to more intelligence? This guy right here says yes. And I'm sure a lot of other people say yes. I'm sure Jensen says yes. But if the answer to that is no, more compute doesn't lead to more intelligence, which we're going to get some answers from Zucks over the earnings and probably Elon to get a better understanding of, then that's probably where some of these Max 7 names are in a little bit of trouble. Because if you don't need to spend more compute, shareholders are going to be saying, why the hell do you keep spending more on compute, right? Why can't you just do what China's doing? And so I think that's going to be the existential debate of the next couple of weeks when it comes to tech earnings. And then he says competition with an adversary. So if you are competing with an adversary like China, you believe more compute leads to more intelligence, and you believe that more intelligence is better, and we haven't saturated in terms of our demand for intelligence, and I think he's correct about that because we haven't reached AGI, then if these three conditions are true, the rational move is to spend more on compute. Number one is self-evident. Number two is true right now, given the curves attached are not showing any sign of saturation. And number three just became true because of Deepseek AI. I think this was the best take that I saw all day in terms of someone from the industry that's actually giving a little bit of analysis right here on why there will be demand for more compute. There will be demand for more intelligence. More intelligence is needed to get more compute, and the existential threat that the United States has with China. Do you think DeepSeek could get banned in the US? You know, that's a good question. I have no clue. My gut answer would be no, because if Trump doesn't want to ban TikTok, why the hell would he want to ban DeepSeek? Right? Like if we can't even ban TikTok, we're not banning DeepSeek. Also, I don't know what, constitutional precedent we would be able to use to ban DeepSeek, because we tried to ban freaking TikTok with Congress in a bipartisanship deal, and that didn't work. So if that didn't work, I don't think there's any way we're going to ban DeepSeek. I am surprised, though, how many people are downloading it. I guess there's an initial wave of curiosity. Tesla right here down about 2.8%, Robinhood down 3%, Nvidia down 4.35%. But even if DeepSeek is good, I'm personally not going to use DeepSeek more than ChatGPT, because I've been using ChatGPT for years at this point. I've been really using it a lot for the past couple months, and it knows everything about me. So why would I want to interact with some new model that has to get updated about all the things that I know about, especially when that model's from China? I mean, I can't believe people are trusting that, they want to interact with the Chinese model. But I'm personally not going to be someone that leaves a GPT. And I know a lot of people are downloading it right now just to test it out. That's fine. But if the results are actually on par with GPT, why would they use this thing over Grok, GPT, Gemini, right? What makes this thing so competitive? So I don't think this is like Deepseek is going to the moon. It's going to be the next $1 trillion company. I think it's more just a wake-up call for everyone around, do we need to spend this much CapEx? And how much CapEx is necessary to produce the types of creative results that Chinese companies have been able to do without spending tens of billions of dollars of CapEx? But I don't think it's necessarily bearish for any of the Max 7 outside of Nvidia if the general conclusion is that we don't need to spend CapEx anymore, which again, I just don't think that's the case. You can deploy it on your laptop and it is better than GPT. Okay, so Gail, I think you work in tech, right? And so coming from you, that means that you are probably seeing some results. Your comment is not in isolation. There's a lot of other people on Twitter that I've seen that have been saying you can deploy it on your laptop locally, open source, and it's better than GPT. That begs the question then, right? That begs the question. Because if you can do that, there's two subdivisions from that thesis. A, does OpenAI have a moat? And then B, does OpenAI have the ability to make it better in their closed proprietary version versus the open source version that you can literally deploy on your laptop? And if they can't, then I don't know how the hell OpenAI is valuable at all, because they're not making money, they're losing money. You could say they're growing, but that growth probably is going to stop if people can do things like deploying it on their laptop, and if it's generally just better, right? Or if it's just as good. Granted, I don't think I'll stop using GPT, but there's a lot of other people that might. And so that it could at least hamper some of the growth expectations on OpenAI. And I think that's the broader issue that the market is having right now. Jose is going to be on Tuesday. Jose is going to be on Tuesday. He can't make it tomorrow, but he'll be on Tuesday and we'll get his take as well and see what he's thinking. Okay, so from that simple 10-minute explanation, and there's a lot more details to this stuff, but what are you guys thinking? Let's do a poll in the chat. Okay, and let's get some sentiment right here. The question is, Deepseek kills, I don't know, the AI trade. Let's call it like that. Does Deepseek kill the AI trade? Mark Andreessen tweeted that he tried Deepseek and it is amazing. His opinion influences people. Well, for those that don't know who Mark Andreessen is, he is one of the smartest venture capitalists in Silicon Valley. One of the reasons I think he's tweeting it is because he's been hammering the table on this idea that, hey, wait a second, we need to compete with China. And I think a lot of these VCs are finally like happy that people are taking China seriously, because their argument has been for the past couple of years, and this is why they were so upset with the Biden administration, which is that we're not taking China seriously when it comes to AI. And so when you have someone like Mark Andreessen right there, basically getting people to be like, oh yeah, DeepSeek is real, it's a thing, like this AI thing is not going away, maybe you get more regulatory decoupling from all the again, I guess red tape that existed on AI. And to Trump's credit, he did pass some executive orders kind of repealing some of the Biden administration regulations that they passed in the last week of being in office. Maybe that continues to happen. Mark Andreessen tweeted right here, DeepSeek R1 is AI's Sputnik moment. So as you can see, a lot of the VCs are definitely saying we got to take China a lot more seriously here right now. Nvidia down 4.2%, a little bit of recovery. Coinbase down 4%, MSTR down 4%, Tesla is down 2.79%. Oklo, wow, Oklo's down 8%. Why did Oklo go down 8%? Oklo was up like 30% last week. My guess would be that it is risk off right now based on this DeepSeek stuff, and anything that's super risk on is going to get hit. Let's go to the spec names. Spec names are kind of red, kind of green. So IONQ's red, D-Wave's green, Rigetti's green, GameStop's red, MicroStrategy's red, Big Bear's green, Archer's red, 4%, SoundHound's kind of green, and then AMC's a little green, and then Oklo's down 7%. I don't think there's any news on nuclear. NNE is also down 2%. I don't know if there's any major catalyst for them. Tesla right here down 2.78% currently right now. Oklo is tied to oh no, that's a good point. Yeah, that's obvious. I missed that. Yeah, that's obvious. Oklo is tied to, yeah, if we don't need this much capex spend on data centers, we don't need that much demand for energy, aka Oklo doesn't have that much of a necessity. Yeah, that's a good point. That's a very logical way to kind of assume at least how the market's treating it right now. Pouncer's down 2.85%. Ricardo Flores, thank you for becoming a channel member. Appreciate you. Thank you for being here, and thank you for becoming a channel member. Meta right here is down 1.4%. SoFi down 0.5%. SMCI down 3.82% here right now. Oklo is Sam Altman's company. True. Yeah, that's true. I mean, but again, I don't think I don't think Sam Altman being the founder or the chairman of Oklo has anything to do with Oklo being down. I think it's more so about data center demand, right? Sam Altman being the common link is irrelevant to me. The broader point is there massive data center energy demand in the future, which would fuel the need for a company that has no earnings to go up like the 200% it's up in the past year and a half, or a lot more than that, because there's energy that is needed to fuel all that data center. And if the market, at least for today, we'll see if they change their mind tomorrow, is assuming we don't need as much data center capex spend, then we don't need that much energy. That's simple. And yeah, that should easily take Oklo down, especially because Oklo's not, there's no earnings on Oklo, right? No earnings on a lot of these different nuclear names. Hood is down 2.76%. SMR, is SMR down as well? SMR, yeah, it's down. It's not down as much as Oklo, but then again, SMR is not as overvalued as Oklo, even though it has a 1,000 price to sales. Oklo doesn't even have price to sales. It has no PE, no price to sales, nothing, bro. There's literally nothing. How much is Oklo up this year? Oklo is up. See, when stuff like this happens, that's when the market. Yeah, Oklo's already up 91% year to date. Come on, bro. Come on. I mean, there you go. If it's up 91% year to date and we don't need that much energy, that's an easy catalyst to take this one down. Now, granted, this might be a great buy the dip if you believe in the energy demand thesis that Oklo is playing out. But that begs the question, is anyone going to buy the dip tomorrow? Because does anyone actually know what the hell is happening with Deepseek? And is there actually something on the horizon when it comes to lack of compute, lack of AI capex demand? My gut feeling right now is no. My gut feeling is Zuckerberg is not spending $65 billion. VST is also, there you go, down 3%. All the data center capex stocks seems like they're down right now. VST, Oklo, SMR, anything, NNE, anything that's kind of tied to energy to an extent. My thesis is Zuckerberg's not spending $65 billion if he thinks he doesn't need to, right? And I think that's pretty logical. I don't think that's crazy to say. Like why, if you're a Mag 7 CEO, would you gut your net income by $60 billion if you don't need to? So I think now he just needs to tell everyone clearly why they're spending that much money, even though everyone already knows. But now this China question brings that up into debate again. And on earnings, if he can clearly answer that along with Nadella on Wednesday, that would be helpful. If they can't answer that question, or their answer seems a little off, or if Nvidia even kind of points to a lack of demand, this is going to be a little ugly going into the next couple months. Micron, all the semis are getting hit. Micron's down 2.7%. All of the semis and the crypto names are getting hit overnight. Yeah, look at the semis, dude. That's bad. ARM's down 4%. Marvell's down 5%. TSM's down 3.5%. Nvidia's down 4.3%. All of them are following Nvidia, obviously, but the market doesn't believe it's that real. Broadcom right here as well, down 4.24%. Currently right now. McAdams family says, I think this is short-term bearish. Long-term just emphasizes the need to innovate and beat China. They hacked our treasury. 100,000%. Short-term, definitely bearish, at least is what the market's telling us right now. But long-term, and this is the take that I agree with from a lot of people today, that we're essentially saying, look, the U.S. needs to compete with China. That's it. We need to potentially spend more, which is where this becomes bullish on capex spend. Or even if we spend less, we need to be more aggressive with how much we are taking China seriously for when it comes to actually producing these models. And I think that's kind of the inevitable conclusion from this. The Scale AI CEO, we saw him talk over the weekend, or I think we saw him talk on Wednesday. He actually referenced this DeepSeek thing. Let's listen to him talk about this again. It wasn't that big of a deal when he said it on Wednesday, but now that the model got open sourced, everyone is talking about it a lot more.
You know, the Chinese labs, they have more H100s than people think. You know, and these are the highest powered Nvidia chips that they were not supposed to have. Yes, my understanding is that Deepseek has about 50,000 H100s, which they can't talk about obviously because it is against the export controls that the United States has put in place. And I think it is true that, you know, I think they have more chips than other people expect, but also on a go forward basis, they are going to be limited by the chip controls and the export controls that we have in place.
So if they do have a lot more chips than what we expect, See, this is why it's so nuanced, bro. This is why it's so weird, right? Because if let's say they don't have 50,000 chips. Let's say they have 1 million chips, right? Let's say no one actually knows. Let's say freaking, I don't know, Japan or Singapore ordered a ton of H100s. Nvidia thought they were selling it to someone inside of those countries. And then those countries had some illegal routes to get the chips into China, which probably has happened to an extent. So let's say China actually was able to hoard all of these chips. And Deepseek is actually like bullshitting and that they actually did use as much as OpenAI spent in terms of CapEx to be able to make this model. Then this is a nothing burger because then they spent a lot more money, right? If they only had 50,000 and, you know, OpenAI has like 200,000, Elon Musk has 200,000 for XAI, but the inference training was actually 1/20th of the cost, even with 1/10 of the GPUs or even with 80% of the GPUs, then that still becomes an issue then, right? Because then why do we need Blackwell Hopper if we can get as creative as the Chinese got on a model that isn't as good as Blackwell, which is the new models that OpenAI has. So this is nuanced, right? Because if China's lying, then this is a nothing burger because they actually are using GPUs and you do need to keep spending. But if China's lying to an extent, but they're still not lying about how creative they were in terms of the export controls and then being able to build what they built on the limited amount of GPUs that they had, which from my understanding seems to be the relative truth in this whole situation, then it does beg the question, how much more CapEx do you need to get the same type of results, given we just looked at a bunch of examples 30 minutes ago that DeepSeek is better than OpenAI, or at least as good when it's run locally and it's an open source model, which is, again, a threat to GPT because it is a proprietary model and they're charging $20 a month or $200 a month to access it. Why do people have to pay if they don't need it? Why do people have to pay if they don't need it? All the semis going down right now as the market does not buy the idea that Nvidia and CapEx spend is safe from potentially going away. It's pretty incredible, dude. So much nuance to this topic, and I think we have more questions than answers, but we're going to try to hopefully get these answers pretty soon. KMS83, thank you for the $5 super chat. Hey, Amit, I learned so much from your options 101 video yesterday. Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being part of the channel. Hopefully you enjoyed that video, and hopefully no one ever has to pay for an intro to options class ever, and hopefully those 3 hours can get the job done, at least for an introduction for people. So it's on the channel if anyone wants to watch it, but seems like some people got some value out of it yesterday. Bitcoin right here, 101.5. Clean Spark is flat. Coinbase down 4%. The miners are actually up a little bit. Marathon's flat. BitX is down 6.8%. Hood is down 3.4%, 49.38. And then Coinbase right here, down 4.19. Bitcoin 101.5. Where is SoFi? SoFi is flat, down 0.11%. Most of the chips are from crypto mining rigs since China banned the crypto mining around the same time. That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. 2021. So a lot of those chips are still from those crypto mining rig days, and China probably saw a different use case from them after they banned crypto mining. That is a good point. What's the score on the Chiefs? What's the score on the Chiefs? Last time I checked, the Bills were leading by like a point. 21-16. All right. 21-16 Chiefs right now. Steve doesn't think any of this matters. We talked to Steve on Friday about this CapEx thing, and Steve, granted, I don't think he's studied this whole Deepseek thing that deeply, but his argument is pretty simple. I'm sure Dan Ives will come out tomorrow and say the exact same thing, that, look, at the end of the day, one open source model from China does not disrupt the entire CapEx ecosystem that has been hyped up over the past couple of years, which I would agree with. That is my take as well. For anyone who's confused what my take is that this is a nothing burger. But I could be wrong. And if I'm wrong and it actually does have an impact, we will find out in the next couple of weeks when we have tech earnings, because all these CEOs will have to talk about it as well. Here is a guy, Cheng Lu, who works at OpenAI. Here's what he tweeted yesterday. Personal experience between OpenAI 01 and DeepSeek R1. 01 is still more helpful for me in my daily work, but DeepSeek's Chinese ability is next level. I never used any chatbot that makes me feel like a master of Chinese literary, and it's the first time I can feel the beauty of a Chinese language created by a chatbot. So you got an OpenAI employee actually praising the value of DeepSeek's model. Now, it's hyper-specific to Chinese literary, which I believe this person is Chinese, and that's why DeepSeek was more valuable for him in this use case. But nonetheless, the fact that it is still more valuable than GPT in some use case is a reason why there might be, part of the fear that the market is dealing with right now when it comes to what's happening with OpenAI. Now, here is another argument that I thought was really important as well. Just looking back at all the H100s that were bought in 2024. If you believe that compute is necessary to create hyper intelligence, Microsoft bought 450,000, Meta bought 350,000, Amazon bought 196,000, Google bought 169,000. The Scale AI CEO that we just listened to thinks that he believes Deepseek has about 50,000. And if the Blackwell is getting better than H100s, which we know they are, if Hopper is going to be better than Blackwell, if actually the chips truly are the oil in this AI revolution in regards to the chips getting better makes the inference training better, makes the models better, and then as a result makes AGI more possible, then it is inevitable more chips will have to be bought. If that is not true, then we've got a whole new world and a whole new stock market dynamic that we need to pay attention to. But we're going to have to see how this ends up playing out. And Tim's question, exactly, Tim's comment right here is what everyone's freaking out about. If they did this with 50K, what could Microsoft do at 450K? Well, that's the bull and the bear case. Because if Microsoft can do 10 times better with 450K than what they did with 50K, that's bullish Microsoft, bullish Nvidia, because they're going to keep buying chips. If Microsoft can't create something that's significantly better with 450K H100s versus 50,000 H100s, that's when we got an issue, right? Like just logically, we have an issue there, because it's like, well, then you don't need the other 400,000 H100s. My belief is that you do need them. My belief is that you need, and I'm not an expert on this stuff, but my belief from the stuff that I've studied, from the data that I've looked at, from the interviews that I watched, I was actually listening to Satya Nadella last night talk a lot about AI workloads in an interview that he did. My understanding is you need more GPUs to make this thing really become like useful. You just need more chips. But I could be wrong. And at least the market's thinking right now that there is a little bit more of a perception that you might not need it. Amit, you say one model from China cannot disrupt the AI trade. One model from OpenAI completely kickstart the AI revolution. Yeah, look, that's a fair point. That's a fair point. Who knows? At least the market right now in the overnight hours is acting like one model from China is going to disrupt this entire OpenAI trade. I'm just skeptical on that. I'm a bit skeptical. And I think the entire market should be skeptical. And I also think this is kind of healthy. We haven't had a dip in a while. If this is the reason for creating the dip, questioning the AI revolution, this is healthy in my opinion, because either it's going to be true or it's going to be false. But if it's true, then we have to completely re-rate the nature of the stock market. I don't think that means some cataclysmic crash. I just think that means Nvidia's done for. I just think that means Nvidia's not getting demand. Meta keeping 60 billion, Microsoft keeping 80 billion is not bad. That is amazing. Their free cash flows, their buybacks, their net incomes, their earnings, everything's going to go through the roof if they don't have to pay the Nvidia tax. Nvidia is going to be in a little bit more trouble. And I think that's a situation where Nvidia falls, but the rest of those companies, they probably take a hit, but I don't think they fall as bad as Nvidia. Having said that, if that doesn't happen, then I think this is very healthy, because the market gets to compete with the market gets to question the validity of the AI trade, which again is this wall of worry, which is good. Like in a bull market, we need to have these moments where we're questioning, are we on the right path? Is this actually working? Like, are stock prices euphoric? Are valuations insane? Does the earnings growth live up to the expectations? Will tariffs be inflationary? Will the 10-year actually come down? Will AI spend continue to go up over the next 2 years? Is self-driving going to be real? Like, all these questions are incredibly helpful and important. And I think they're necessary for the broader market to have, especially when we've had as much of a run as we've had, where we got back to all-time highs on the S&P. So I think it's healthy. But it does bring up some questions of like, hey, do we need to spend as much as we're spending? And I think we're going to get some answers, hopefully, in the next few weeks on what's happening. Phil says, to me, their claims are breaking both the laws of physics and economics simultaneously. It just doesn't smell right on the surface, and that's probably what we should initially trust more than the claims. Yeah, and that's my take as well. I think it's hard to deny the entire AI revolution because of this one breakthrough from China, but it definitely gets people questioning, right? I think that's the important thing. Now, let's also talk about proprietary models, because that's something we didn't talk about either. So Grok, right? Like Grok might not need to spend as much on GPUs in the future if like they can replicate what China's doing with this whole creative inference training on top of their existing cluster of GPUs. Grok XAI just bought 200,000 of them a couple months ago. But Grok also has access to Twitter, which is, I think, like 500 million tweets a day, something like that. Gemini has access to YouTube. Llama has access to a lot of Facebook content. So I think this is actually much worse for OpenAI, quite frankly, because not only are we questioning, does OpenAI need to have these many GPUs, but now we're questioning, where the hell is OpenAI going to get their data from? Because they're the only large language model that I know of that doesn't have proprietary data and that is signing deals with a lot of these other companies. I think over the past 2 weeks, OpenAI signed partnered with Axios. They partnered with Axios on January 15th. Axios is a media publication. I don't really read their articles, but I guess a bunch of people do. And so they wrote, publishers representing hundreds of newsrooms and content brands are using OpenAI partnerships and grant programs that adopt AI tools. Over the past year, we set out to support a healthy news ecosystem. Our goal is to be a thoughtful partner, helping journalists with time-consuming tasks, improving ChatGPT's understanding of sources of current news events, and offering new ways for publishers to reach readers through ChatGPT. So they had to cut Axios a check to be able to actually do this. Grok has to cut no one a check because everyone's tweeting 1 billion times a second. I'm being hyperbolic there, but you get my point. And as soon as there's breaking news, you can ask Grok and it can index all of the content that's on Twitter already. YouTube can take all of the transcripts from these videos and immediately index them and put them into their models to be able to give real-time updates. And Google, obviously, as a search engine, has 2 decades of crawling the web to be able to find information. So what does that mean about OpenAI? Where the hell do they get their data from? It's a big question that I don't think anyone has the answer to. I really don't think anyone has an answer to how this ends up playing out. What do you think Elon will say about this? Well, let's check his Twitter. Has he said anything? He's been awfully quiet, bro, about this Deepseek situation. And I am, well, he actually did tweet this. He did tweet this. Let me show you guys this. This is actually interesting. He tweeted this. I think he tweeted this in Latin or something. We have to translate this. But he tweeted, I have to get the exact translation for this, but he tweeted like nothing, or like, you won't stop me or some shit. He tweeted in some weird way, and he pinned the tweet. Nemo mi impun su laset. I totally butchered that. Nemo mi impun laseset. You guys can make fun of me on that. But that's what he tweeted. And I believe that means you won't stop me or something like that. Let me just look that up right now. So that is all he's tweeted over the weekend. That's it. That is all he's tweeted. Oh yeah, no one harms me unpunished. That's what it means. No one harms me unpunished. That's what he tweeted. No one harms me unpunished. I think he's talking about Sam Altman right there. I think he's talking about Sam Altman right there. It's not about Finding Nemo. But other than that, he hasn't said anything about Deepseek. Let's take a look at some of these overnight markets, and we'll keep going from there. Tesla's down 2.8%. Amazon down 1.8%. Hood down 3.6%. Palantir down 3.7%. Nvidia still down 4.7%, not recovering. IBM down 0.5%. American Express down 1.2%. Starbucks down 2%. You guys said Chris tweeted about Nvidia. Let's get Chris's take on this. Let's see what Chris said. Okay, this is Chris's tweet right here. His take on this. I'm reading this for the first time. For anyone concerned about Nvidia or hyperscalers declining due to DeepSeek, ask yourself, if AI becomes cheaper, will people use it more or less? Think of the internet. As it became more affordable, did people use it more or less? This is just accelerating the shift to an AI-driven world. There will be winners and losers, but the industry will grow and become more ubiquitous. The strong will compete, survive, and thrive. The weak will fail. Yeah, I generally agree with that. I think that's kind of the mainstream take that is pretty much what everyone is saying right now. The broader question here is that even if this is true, does Nvidia see a material decline in demand? And I mean, again, if the world is going towards more AI, hyperscalers are still going to have to spend more on AI. Maybe they're not going to spend as much as they spent over the past couple of years, but so far, Zucks and Nadella have literally committed to spending 35 to 50% more than what they spent in 2024. Now, will that continue in 2026? I don't know. But if it is an AI world and everything becomes AI, just like it was an internet world and everything became adapted to the World Wide Web, you needed a lot of CapEx to build that out over the next decade. Rodney says, people forget the first one over the wall has to take all the arrows. Everyone else has a much easier time getting caught up than inventing for the first time, but they'll always half step being behind. Yeah, that's basically what Apple does, right? Apple lets everyone take the bullets, and then Apple comes out. They haven't really done it in the past couple years, but then they come out with the product that everyone loves. The Vision Pro kind of was, I guess, an example of what they tried to do there, but they actually tried to be first on the Vision Pro, even though we did have other VR headsets and it just didn't work. But historically, Apple has let other people make a tablet, make a touchscreen phone, etc., and then they come out with something that's better. So OpenAI has 300 million monthly active users because of their first mover advantage. But is that first mover advantage enough to overcompensate for the fact that everyone's doing what OpenAI is doing? This has been the story of China in general for the last 50 years, try to create cheap copies of American innovation. Correct. And that's the other reason I think this dip is kind of stupid, because let's say China is copying this and they've done a little bit of innovation here in terms of the inference training. That is not China coming up with the AI revolution, right? Like that's just China copying what the US has done. Maybe they have a little bit of a breakthrough, but that's not them coming up with AGI. I mean, and I'm assuming if like the thesis of GPUs and CapEx is still somewhat intact, which I would imagine it is, you still need a lot of compute to build AGI. Like we're talking about like a robot that can completely understand everything and walk around your house and do the dishes. We're talking about a car that absolutely makes zero mistakes on the road. We're talking about super intelligence beyond our highest imaginations in terms of these agentic workflows, so that a company like Palantir can implement those high-level agents inside of a BP or an Airbus. Like we're still far away from that. And if we're far away from that, I would imagine some more money still needs to be spent to have that play out. Doesn't China make cheap copies of everything we make? Correct. That is usually what they tend to do. Okay, on the poll, 71% of you said no, this does not kill the AI trade. 29% of you said yes, this could be potentially killing the AI trade. China's actually up right now, 0.5%. So market's selling Nvidia to buy China overnight. Vertiv, that's another one. Vertiv is down 5%. VRT, this is infrastructure for data center. VST and Vertiv, VRT and VST, both data center energy plays. Both of them down. VRT is down 5.43%. VST, this is what Nancy bought. That one recovered a little bit. It was down 5%. Now it's down 3%. Oklow's down 7%. SMR is down 0.5%. Oracle's still up 1.1%. Tesla's down 2.8%. Palantir is down 4%. Market's really not giving Palantir the benefit of the doubt here. And then Nvidia is still down 4.6% on the day. Broadcom's also down 3%. All the semis are getting hit. Broadcom right here down 4.5%. Yeah, the semis that got hit the least is actually Intel. Down actually on semiconductor. Both of those down about 1.2%. SMCI as well goes with Nvidia. But see, again, this feels so dumb, bro. Like we know Q4 is going to be amazing for Nvidia. They're going to put up $40 billion in revenue. We know their guidance is going to be good. Jensen would not be partying at CES asking to bring him a beer while he's on stage if he knew that China was such an existential threat that in the next few quarters he would have to deliver guidance that is significantly lower than the street's expectations, and that the entire AI trade would come crumbling down. Like it really just doesn't feel like that's the sentiment that he's giving off in terms of his presentations of new ideas and what the future looks like. And it also isn't what the investors got, because he had an investor day in Vegas the day after CES, and most of the investors upgraded the stock into the high 180s and 190s after hearing him talk about the future of AI. So I don't know, dude. It just it feels like one of those things that, again, is more of a wall of worry, which is a good thing. It's healthy for the market, but it doesn't feel like something legitimately that's like, all right, this whole AI trade is over. I guess we'll see how the market opens tomorrow. It doesn't look like this is changing overnight. Nvidia keeps falling 4.8%. I mean, at its lowest, it was down 6.5%. So a little bit of recovery right there. But it doesn't look like the market's necessarily changing their grip on what they think about for Nvidia. Buffalo took the lead. Oh, boy. Buffalo took the lead. All right. Bills and Chiefs. One of them is going to be facing the Eagles in the Super Bowl in a couple weeks. Amit, wasn't Deepseek pretty unknown before the news? How could Jensen have known? No, I do not think Deepseek was unknown. I think we didn't know what was going on with Deepseek. There's no way in hell Jensen did not know what was happening in China. I mean, again, Jensen still sells a lot of chips to China. You would imagine that he's selling them. He knows the clients that he's selling them to, and he knows some of the stuff they're working on. If he didn't know that Deepseek was coming up with these innovations, maybe that's a thing. That could be a thing. I just find that hard to believe that Nvidia had no idea what was happening in China. I just think the general public found out because the model finally got open sourced in the past week. That's why everyone's finally, and the app went live on the App Store, right? Like now everyone's like realizing it. Or you could take the more skeptical route and say Jensen knew about this. He knew this was coming, and he pumped the stock at CES, and he continues to be super happy and exuberant, even though he knows in the back of his head that this shit's going to come crumbling down pretty soon. I don't think that's the case. That's a very skeptical perspective take on this whole Nvidia trade. I don't think that's what's happening. But I do think he knew that there was going to be some progress coming from China. Amit, are you an Eagles fan? No, I'm not really a football fan. I just like, I don't know, when the Super Bowl comes around, I get more excited to watch it, but don't really have a team that I'm really excited about or that I cheer for. This is a huge opportunity to load up on Nvidia. Well, I'm curious to see how the market interprets this tomorrow, because it's one thing for the overnight markets to take it down 4%, 4.8%. Tomorrow, 4 a.m., 7 a.m., when pre-markets open, that's when we're really going to see how much is the market upset about this. Where are futures right now? Are futures still hit? Futures are, yeah, wow. The Nasdaq's down 2% on the futures. So futures not lighting up. Yeah, the Q is basically down the same. Overnight, 1.73% on the Qs. S&P is down 1%. And then IWM small caps also down a full 1%. Do you get up early to look at futures? Not just to look at futures. I mean, I get up early just to get up early, but usually by 5:30, 6 a.m., I can kind of see what's happening on futures. But I mean, they don't change that much from overnight. Like sometimes they change, but usually, like if it's a red futures at night, it'll be a red pre-market, and then the market might go green at 9:30, but it tends to be relatively the same. People don't like that the Robinhood overnight markets. They think it's like not an accurate representation of stocks. From like I've been looking at the overnight markets for a year and a half. It is pretty damn like Robinhood's probably going to be down 3% tomorrow, at least in the pre-markets. If it's down 3% right now, it tends to be pretty accurate because more companies are embracing overnight markets, so there's more volume, so there's a better sense of like if things are actually going up or down versus the small amount of volume that used to be only on the Robinhood app. Doug says, y'all aren't thinking about this on the right level. Last week, we threatened to ban a video app. So the CCP says, okay, here's an AI app that will ruin your chokehold on the AI economy. You know, that's a hell of a take. And I think that's a take that I agree is underappreciated. We banned TikTok, and then we stopped the banning of TikTok for whatever reason. And now, somehow, on the top of the United States of America iOS App Store, a Chinese open source model, which I don't trust for 1 second, is the #1 app in America. I mean, that is, again, it's pretty insane, pretty freaking insane. And we know that every time you type something into GPT, it keeps storage of that information, right? So that's how GPT knows who you are, and they're able to update their memory, all that stuff. If this thing is keeping track of all the questions we ask it, and we start asking it questions on a daily basis, I mean, the amount of American data, that's got to be more valuable than likes and comments on a TikTok video, because now they actually know what the hell we're asking, and potentially the results could be skewed in a way to manipulate. I mean, there's so many ways that this can be interpreted, and that is obviously very, you know, it's one of those things that's it makes people a lot more skeptical about what the hell is happening here. I did download it to check it out for a bit, and then I deleted it because I was curious as well. And it was good. It's not like the answers were bad, but it's not like I was like, oh my God, this is so much more amazing than GPT. Like, so I downloaded it, asked a couple questions. I was like, okay, this is cool. It wasn't as fast as GPT, that's for sure. GPT is still way faster. And I was like, okay, like what's the hype? But I guess other people are seeing hype in terms of their ability to run it locally, which is obviously much more valuable than it just being an app on the App Store. Temu AI. Oh my gosh. Is this bullish or bearish for Palantir? I think this is bullish for Palantir. Look, Palantir never needed to build an LLM or train a model. Palantir is saying, okay, you guys do that. We're going to take it and we're going to go make it valuable for our clients. That's always been the Palantir thesis, like really for the past year and a half. And I think the market woke up to that in 2024 when they started realizing that use cases, which is what Dan Ives keeps talking about on AI, are what actually matter. This is a bit of a confusion that some of the newer investors have to Palantir. Palantir is not an AI company in the respect of they are literally training their own AI model. They could give a shit about the model. They just need to make sure the model is integrated into a company's data. That's where the ontology comes in. And then AIP creates workflows on top of all that data to then actually create value, a real ROI for an enterprise. This could be the bull case for Palantir, bro. I mean, if the market comes to the conclusion that all of the models are legit commoditized, which I think the market knows in the back of their head, but they haven't like come to the definitive agreement that that's the case. If that's true, and the market's like, okay, so we still want to go long AI, Nvidia is not the play anymore. I mean, Microsoft that owns half of OpenAI is not the play anymore. Copilot doesn't matter that much more. Yeah, maybe cloud computing is the play, but what is the software use case of AI? There's two answers. There's Tesla and Palantir. Tesla with FSD and eventually robots, and then Palantir with actual enterprise solutions. And maybe that ends up being how it can be good for Palantir. Now, granted, why is Palantir down 4%? Well, Palantir is in the AI bucket. So if Nvidia is falling, then you bet Palantir is going to fall with it. So I think the most bearish thing for Palantir that could happen is that they don't give good growth guidance into Q4. And so I think everyone who's a Palantir investor needs to keep that in mind. If we get a crappy growth number for 2024, which I would say crappy is like below 30%, even really below 32%, I think they got to go 32 to 34 and then slowly make their way up into the high 40s. If they can't get there, then it's up to the market in terms of how much they want to continue keeping Palantir's multiple. But outside of that, I don't think the Chinese revolution in terms of better models and less CapEx spend is bearish for Palantir, because Palantir was never spending on models. I mean, they never needed to spend on models because that was never the thesis on Palantir in the first place. All right, so we spent a good hour talking about Deepseek. I think we'll move on to like the final things we got to talk about, which is another reason futures could be down, which is Trump and Colombia. We'll talk more about Deepseek tomorrow on the market open. I'm not going to go as deep as I went today, but we'll do a high-level overview tomorrow, and we'll see if the market is still afraid of Deepseek. But we had some Trump tariff news with Colombia today. So Trump wanted to send back illegal immigrants back to Colombia, and he tried to do it. And the Colombian president then said, no, we're not going to take them back. So as soon as that happened, Trump then said, we are placing an emergency 25% tariff on all Colombian goods, as the country's CEO or the country's president refused to accept the return of undocumented immigrants. Trump also said that the tariffs would then be upgraded to 50% in 1 week until they get their answers. And then, so like he put out a list of all this stuff, right? Like, and he basically said, hey, you guys got to start cooperating with us. Otherwise, we're going to have some issues. Then the Colombian president came out and said, okay, fine. We are going to like agree. We're not going to, we're not going to keep, playing a hardball. They reversed their decision and is reportedly now offering his presidential plane to repatriate deportees from the US. So Trump said, hey, you have to pay tariffs or take back your illegal immigrants. And Colombian president said no. Then I think it was like an hour, 30 minutes to an hour after, he reversed his decision and started offering the presidential plane after he heard of the Trump's 25%, 50% tariffs and said, all right, fine. We're going to officially like capitulate and we're going to take back our immigrants. So everything was cool. Everyone was like, okay, amazing. Trump negotiation. He said, we're going to tariff you, showed some strong leadership. And then Colombia decided that they're going to officially move the other way. And then a couple hours later, they take it back. Colombian President Petro announces that if there will be tariffs on Colombian goods, he will add 50% tariffs on the U.S. goods and says he will not give in to retaliation. He says, I will resist you. So within like 2 hours, he like walked back, and then he officially walked back up and said, actually, no, we're not going to take any of these threats that Trump has on tariffs. Now, after they originally said that they were going to like take back their immigrants and that they basically said sorry for doing what they did in regards to getting upset about not taking back immigrants. They were scared of the tariffs. Trump tweeted this picture right here, which is a picture of him and FAFO, which for those that don't know is fuck around and find out. And so he tweeted that as victory. He was like, boom, we got them. And then Colombia came back in the other direction. Now, what does this mean? I think the takeaway for investors is we still don't know what the hell is going on. We don't know if there's going to actually be tariffs on Colombia. We don't know if Colombia is going to take back the illegal immigrants. We don't know if there's going to be some type of deal. I would imagine they reach some type of deal soon enough because there has to be some deal, or this is the first time that Trump is going to legit enforce tariffs and make this a real thing and make people realize that he's not messing around with tariffs. Here's what Trump said. I was just informed that the true repatriation flights from the United States with a large number of illegal criminals were not allowed to land in Colombia. This order was given by Colombia's socialist president, who is already very unpopular amongst his people. Petro's denial of these flights have been jeopardized the national security and the public safety of the United States. So I've directed my administration to immediately take the following urgent and decisive retaliatory measures. And then he announced a travel ban, visa withdrawals from Colombian government officials, emergency 25% tariffs, visa sanctions for all party members, enhanced customs and border protection, all of this stuff that got the Colombian president to finally decide that he was going to turn his back and take the immigrants. But then 3 hours later, he says, you know what, forget it. I'm not going to take the immigrants. We're going to tariff you guys if you're going to tariff us. Now, AOC's take on this is to punish Colombia. Trump is about to make every American pay even more for coffee. Remember, we pay the tariffs, not Colombia. Trump is all about making inflation worse for the working class Americans, not better. He's lining the pockets of himself and the billionaire class. I don't necessarily agree with this take. I think at the end of the day, tariffs have to be used as a negotiation tactic, and that's what Trump's doing right now. I don't think we're going to actually have 50% tariffs on Colombia. And I think the market doesn't think that either, because the 10 year's down, and the 10 year shouldn't be down if we're going to have that many tariffs. But if we were to have 50% tariffs, then it begs the question, what goods do we get from China and how expensive do they become if we legit implement that harsh of a tariff, which I don't think is going to happen. But we're going to have to see what the broader equity markets look like. I just know that I wouldn't like tariffs on Colombia in particular. And it's kind of personal for me. You know, I get my goods from Colombia, and the only reason I have the energy to do a 3-hour options class, it's because of blow, bro. That's it. Like, it's because of blow. That's it. And so if they tariff my goods, like, it's just going to be more expensive for me to have energy to do what I do for you guys every morning. So I hope we don't have the tariffs, but that's my own personal opinion on tariffs right now. Okay. Oh, here is this one thing. So we import 1%. So this is actually another really good stat. Let me pull this up right here. We have leverage when it comes to importing and exporting, which is another reason I think Trump is doing this whole negotiation thing. So take a look at this chart right here. This is actually a really good chart. So 29% of Colombia's exports go to the United States. Only 0.8%, less than 1% of U.S. exports go to Colombia. So Colombia sends 5% to China, 5% to India, 9.6% to Panama, 29% to the United States. So if 30% of their exports, aka the money they make from their goods that they send to the rest of the world, only comes to the United States, well then wait a second. If we slap on tariffs, that's not going to be pretty for Colombia, and I think Trump knows this. Right. And that might have been another reason he's so aggressive with these tariffs right now, again, from a negotiation perspective, because he knows that Colombia is eventually going to have to capitulate. So I guess we're going to have to see how that ends up playing out. What do you think? Do we get tariffs? Let's do a poll. What do you think? Do we actually get tariffs on Colombia? 25 to 50%? Because now if the guy went back from his original apology, then Trump's going to have to officially put it out, right? Like officially put on the tariffs. Also, there was a source in the White House that reported that Trump wants to make an example of tariffs using Colombia. And if that's the case, then maybe this is his first way of implementing tariffs. It's also not on China or Canada. So it's actually good because if it's not on, any of our major partners, it's a smaller partner, then that can get the rest of the world a little bit more scared. But Reuters says that White House sources say President Trump is using Colombia as an example to tell the world what would happen if they refuse to accept deportation rights. He already instituted them. The tariffs are in place right now. Really? Okay. Well, there you go. I guess those tariffs are officially live. Let me see if I can just pull that up right here. Yeah, it's live. That's right. That is live. All right. So 25% tariffs, folks. They're live on Colombia. Who would have thought Colombia would be the first fight that Trump picks? Colombia. It was the first fight. It wasn't China. It wasn't Canada. It was freaking Colombia. What percent of our coffee beans are from Colombia? That's a good question. Let's ask an American AI model. What percent of the American coffee beans come from Colombia? The answer is 27% of the U.S. unroasted coffee imports originated from Colombia. The rest come from Brazil, right? Where do the rest come from? So almost 30%. The rest come from Brazil, which is the largest. Vietnam. I didn't know that. Vietnam has 10%. Honduras. Honduras has coffee beans? I did not know that. So Honduras. So it's Brazil, Vietnam, Honduras, Mexico, Ethiopia, Peru, Guatemala, and then Colombia. Brazil and Colombia are the number 1 and 2. Brazil's at 35%, Colombia's at 27%. Okay, there you go. I did not know that. Oh boy, but it's weird. Why is the 10-year not up on this news then, right? Like the 10-year is so reactive to tariffs. Trump literally mentioned tariffs in the freaking inauguration speech and the 10-year spiked. Like that is very weird that the 10-year is not moving off of tariffs that are already in place, even if they are emergency 25% tariffs. Like that's really weird, right? I don't know how to make sense of that. I don't know how to make sense of the 10-year not even kind of spiking up currently right now. The dollar is up a little bit, but the 10-year is not really moving in that direction. Is the 10-year reacting more to Deepseek? Okay, so let's try to break this down. Why would the 10-year go down if Deepseek is a thing? Equities go down. Is that why? If equities come down, then people buy bonds because no, but that's weird, right? If equities come down and they become cheaper, wouldn't people spend more money on equities? Wouldn't they buy that dip? Why would people sell off their bonds, which would cause the 10-year to go up based on the AI trade going down? Why would the 10-year go up why would people sell off their bonds if the AI trade is over? That's the question. What do you guys think? Why would people sell their bonds? Maybe to buy stocks. Maybe they sell their bonds to rotate into equities. That could lead to a spike, kind of. Or you go, oh no, that's the obvious answer. Risk off. You sell your equities, you buy. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that makes a lot more sense. It could go the other way where you sell your bonds to buy the dip, but it also could be super risk off. You sell your stocks, lock in your 4.5%, and that gets bond yields to come down. So you could kind of run into that fear via the 10-year versus going into equities. That could be a reason. That could be a reason. If the market thinks the AI trade is over, which again, I don't think it's happening, but let's say that's the perception right now. The market's saying, okay, we're selling Meta because Meta is going to fall 20%. We're going to buy the 10-year, lock it in at 4.5% because they know the 10-year is going to come down as well. And as a result of that, you get a ton of people buying bonds and that gets those yields to come down a bit. That could be what's playing out right now. Dude, I always say bongs somehow. I always end up. There was one tweet I did about this like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I mistakenly said bongs over bonds. I don't know why I say bongs so much, dude. I don't even smoke, dude. I don't smoke. I know you guys don't believe me, but I don't smoke from a bong, so I don't know why I said that. It's just beautiful Colombian blow for me. That's it. That's what I need to wake up in the morning. All right. So having said that, the last thing we got to talk about here is SoFi. Last thing we got to talk about is SoFi. And that's it for us on this Sunday show. What are you guys expecting on SoFi? I'm going to be live tomorrow at 7:25. We get the results at 7:30. So I'll be live 5 minutes before the results. My question to everyone here is SoFi dump or pump? Do we actually get a meaningful pump on SoFi? Or does it finally go back to following the trend where it dumps? It's up overnight. That's nice. 1804, up 0.67%. So we got SoFi a little bit green right here. There's another thing. Colombia is the 4th biggest crude oil importer to the U.S. That is absolutely correct. Oil prices are down right now, down 1.15. That could be something we definitely have to watch out on. That's a big one. That could spike oil prices up if we tariff all their oil, which I'm assuming would be included in Trump's emergency 25% tariff. So that's definitely something to look at tomorrow. 61% of you say pump, 40% say dump. I have no clue what's going to happen with SoFi. I would love it to pump because I got some options, got some shares. Wouldn't be too upset if that happens. Consensus seems to be that most people think SoFi is going to beat. And if SoFi beats, then likely they hopefully follow in the trend of all the other banks and they pump. This is what Data Driven Investing, a friend of the channel, he wrote this last night. Full predictions for SoFi Q4 earnings: revenue $697 million, adjusted EBITDA $189 million, EPS 6 cents a share. Lending is going to do $365 million, financial services $259 million, fueled by their new loan platform that went live in Q3. We talked about that a couple weeks ago. Tech platform $112 million, and then corporate they would lose $39 million. He thinks they're going to get 780,000 new members. They're going to originate $4.5 billion in loans for personal loans, $790 million in student loans, $400 million in home loans, and then new checkings and saving deposits would be $2.1 billion. And he thinks they're going to guide for about $3.25 billion, which I think is 20% growth with 35 cents of EPS going into 2025. If he's right, then good. I mean, that should be a quarter that the market likes. I don't think that's a quarter that the market's going to disrespect. But they're definitely reporting into a weird Deepseek driven mania environment now. And so I think that's going to be where we have to see the market take it. Look, if SoFi dips to like 15, I'll be a buyer. If we actually get a 10, 15% dump, I'll be fine buying it. If it doesn't, then all right, that's fine. But let's see if there's actually any meaningful dip. Nvidia is still down, folks. Wow, down 5.2%. Has not changed. It's actually gotten worse. Officially down 5.2%. It was down. Reddit just went down 5.2. Dude, all the growth stocks are getting hit. Reddit was at 190, bro. Now it's at 173. All these growth stocks are getting hit as Nvidia continues to fall. Palantir 2 down 5%. Yeah, dude. And we have Tesla earnings. This whole Deepseek thing. We didn't even talk about Tesla. I mean, we'll talk more about it over the next couple of days. I'll be live on Wednesday. Tesla, Microsoft, Meta, and then JPow all in the same day. I don't know what's going to happen with Tesla, bro. I think they can pump if Elon pumps up Optimus. If he doesn't, I don't know, bro. If he doesn't pump up Optimus, if the numbers on the automotive sector are not that good, the guidance is not that good, who knows, right? Like, it comes down to the qualitative elements of the story being substantial. And Optimus and FSD is what's going to make that happen. I think the game changer on Tesla is going to be if they definitively say in the next 5 months, which would be H1 of 2025, they're having that $30,000 car go live. If they don't say that's happening, I think that's going to be a gut wrench to Tesla. Because like they said for the past 2 quarters, in writing, it is not Elon just saying it on the earnings call, literally in their shareholder deck, that car will be out by latest June 2025. If that doesn't happen, then we're going to have some issues. So I don't know, but I would be happy buying the dip if we get down to the 350s, if that happens again. So I guess we'll see how bad it it actually goes, or if Optimus and FSD can pump it. Palantir right here down 5.5% as well. Yeah, Palantir's falling with the AI trade. Palantir's falling with the entire AI trade. I mean, is there any AI stock that's green right now? All the semis are still disgusting. They got worse. AMD's down 2.9. SMCI's down 4. Nvidia's down 5.3. Dell down 3.4. Micron down 3.1. SMH should be down like 3%. SMH down 3.23%. SoFi is the only thing that's green, to be honest. Like, there's nothing else that's green. And China's green. SoFi's green. Vertiv's down. VST is down. Everything else is red. I don't see any green. I mean, Mag 7 or any of the Mag 7 green. All of the Mag 7 are red. All of them. At least 2% on all of them. I mean, Apple's at 1.4. So Apple's, I guess, getting hit the worst. Or getting hit the least. All right, what's the Chiefs score? Chiefs and Bills. Oh, wow. Chiefs 29-22. Okay. Everyone wants the Chiefs to win, right? Like, we all want the Chiefs to win because we want to see them three-peat. No NFL team ever has three-peated. I want to see history happen, bro. I want to see them three-peat. XLE oil and gas is down about 1/3%. ExxonMobil, yeah, all of them down about 1/3%. You want the Bills? Why do you guys want the Bills? Don't you guys want to see history? This is greatness. And like, I want to see Patrick Mahomes go 3 for 3, bro. That would be incredible. You guys are a bunch of haters, bro. There's no way any of you guys are Bills fans. You're just Chiefs haters. How do we not want the Chiefs to win? Dude, the Commanders got destroyed. I didn't watch the game, but I saw the score. And I was like, damn, 55-23, bro. That is not the best for them. Last time Eagles won was 2018, right? They beat Tom Brady. So Eagles haven't been there for a while. How is this a terrible take? Like even if you weren't a Bulls fan in 1998, you wanted to see Jordan go for the three-peat. Like, that's just, if you like sports, you want to see greatness, right? How's this a bad take? I just want to see them. I want to see them win. I want to see Patrick Mahomes go 3 for 3. I think that would be so cool. Amit, you want to see Buffalo looks like after a Bills Super Bowl win? Trust me. Well, that's the other thing. Buffalo is not like one of those major franchises in terms of like big markets. But when's the last time Buffalo won a Super Bowl? Buffalo Bills last Super Bowl win. It's got to be like a while ago, right? This had to be. When's the last time they won a Super Bowl? 31 years. Wow, they haven't even reached the Super Bowl in 31 years. They lost in 1994 to the Cowboys. Yeah, that would definitely be big for the city if that ends up happening. The Chiefs are known for getting insanely favored calls by the refs, almost to the point of it looking fixed. That's why the whole country wants them to lose all season. They had refs on the roster. I heard this take as well. Like, I don't care about football that much. I don't care that much about if they're in with the refs. I just want to see greatness. But you guys are probably right, dude. I mean, like, dude, when you go 2 for 2 in the Super Bowl, you're probably going to get the refs on your side. So that is not a horrible take either. Tess is like, I don't even know what sport we're talking about. American football, which isn't even real football. Real football is like actually using your foot in soccer, which is actually called football, but we call it soccer. But I like the Super Bowl. You know, Super Bowl is always a fun event. That's when I get excited about it. But I don't know. I don't have a dog in this race. All right, so I think that's it. SoFi, everyone says pump. I think it'll pump too. Given where the NASDAQ is right now in the futures, I don't know if that's going to happen, but I'll be live 7:25 tomorrow. So we are starting an hour early, or about 90 minutes early, and we'll start listening to Noto at 8 a.m., and then he'll be done by like 9:15. And hopefully the call goes well. And if it does, maybe SoFi is now a $20 stock. And we can move forward with SoFi out of the teens, which it's time, bro. Palantir, Robinhood, Rocket Lab, all these guys, they went through their issues over the past 3 years. They got profitable. They moved on. SoFi should be no different. Should be able to get there. And then hopefully we're in the 20s for SoFi. Tabitha, thank you for the $20 super chat. Thank you for the options class. Again, thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. For those that did not watch it, if you are interested at all in the basics of options, I got a lot of good feedback on it. A lot of people liked it. It was very, very basic. We're talking about me repeating the same thing 5 times in a row just to reference the concept I was talking about that we talked about 5 minutes before we got to the new concept, like super basic. And I think it helped me better explain it. It helped me better understand it. And hopefully it helped a lot of people understand the difference between puts, calls, buying and selling and all that good stuff. Options 201 and 202 or 201, 301, et cetera, will be happening over the next couple of weeks. I'll be getting some guests to help me with that stuff, but we'll definitely be going forward with that as well. Also, I tried to watch some movies over the weekend. Couldn't do it. I tried to watch Billy Madison. Couldn't do it. I tried to watch JFK. I don't know why randomly last night I started thinking about JFK and I was like, JFK. I just like started, it's because of the executive order of the files. So I started Googling stuff. I was like, there's a movie on JFK. And then I called Steve. Steve says like, Steve, you got to watch. Steve's like, you got to watch this movie. It's one of the best movies ever. I couldn't get through the first 5 minutes. I'm going to try it again. Granted, it was 1 a.m. I was sleepy, so I couldn't get through it, but I will, I will try. Dude, I did try. It was 1 a.m. and I tried. Okay. I tried. I just couldn't get through it. But JFK, I'm really, apparently, it's not me saying it, but this is what like the movie implies and what Steve thinks is like and I'm sure a lot of you guys think this as well, if you're more historians of this fact. Apparently, Lyndon B. Johnson wanted this guy out to continue the Vietnam War. Okay, that's what apparently is the big controversy around JFK. I didn't know that. I didn't even know Lyndon B. Johnson was the vice president, bro. I had no idea this was the case. So I'm actually very curious to go deeper into that story and try to get the deep dives on that. But no, I didn't know about it. So I'm going to try to watch it, see what happens. Did I watch the Gilmore movie? No, I did not. I did not try Happy Gilmore. I did not watch that. Where's Bitcoin? Are we tanking on Bitcoin? Down 3.5. No, Bitcoin's down the same it's been down. Again, the NASDAQ falls, Bitcoin falls. Simple. So it makes sense. Bitcoin will always react with the NASDAQ. It's not going to go opposite. If the NASDAQ falls another 5%, Bitcoin's going below 100,000. But NASDAQ's only down 1.7. So hopefully that's not going to hurt Bitcoin a bit too much. All right, here we go. I will be live tomorrow morning, and we'll get into SoFi. We will get into SoFi. Admit your brain is more productive things for you to do. ADHD is a blessing for personal growth and not wasting brain cells. Dude, that's fair, because I did get a lot of work done yesterday. I had to get a bunch of random things done, and I got that stuff done. But then at night, I was like, all right, maybe I should watch something. I just couldn't focus on it. Maybe I was too sleepy. But when it comes to like this documentary stuff, I really do care about like paying attention, you know, maybe like a movie that's just pure entertainment is not the best for me. But like when it comes to like I told you guys, like in November, I watched the 3-hour documentary on Social Security. I don't know how that happened, but it was a 3-hour documentary on America's Social Security bubble, essentially. And I was super interested in it. So this JFK stuff definitely has my attention. If you want to get the overnight prices, it's Webull or Robinhood. For those asking in the chat, Webull or Robinhood. Webull you can download for free. Robinhood you can also go on and you can check it out. Both of those give you the overnight prices. All right, that's it. I'm done. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. We'll see you guys tomorrow on the on the market open. You must be fun at parties. Yeah, dude. I can bring up the fact that Bill Clinton wanted to dump our Social Security, which was $2 trillion at the time, into the S&P 500, and Congress stopped him. We would have $11 trillion of Social Security right now if he was able to do that. But now we're running a deficit on it because we didn't invest it. We invested in 10-year Treasury bonds instead. That's a fun fact at a party, right? That's an important fact. Hopefully people appreciate that at a party. All right. Yeah, we'll be live 7:25, not 8:45, 7:25 in the morning, and we'll get into SoFi earnings. All right. Thank you, everybody. I'll see you guys tomorrow on the market open. Bye, everyone. Have a good one.